figures. You told me that congruent figures, you told me that they needed to be the same size, right? And the same shape. Well, if they're not the same shape, they're not the same. Okay? And they also have to be the same size. So we're going to talk about corresponding angles and corresponding sides. Okay? So do you notice how, and yours isn't in color, but do you notice how my notes up here, I have two sides marked in red that are in the same place. I have these two sides marked in blue and these two sides marked in green. Do you notice how they correspond to each other? They're like each the same length. You don't see that?
I do.
Okay. So what we can write is we can write that segment, like our side AB. So I'm going to write AB because that's naming the entire side. And I'm going to put a line above it saying like, hey, this is the side. What's the other side that is the same length as AB? Okay, DE. So I'm going to say AB and DE. This is the symbol for congruent. It's an equal sign with a squiggle. Yes.
Why does it look weird?
I don't know how to answer that.
Like, cause like, why does it have that and then like shape?
So when we talk about, like if I knew that AB had a length of 5, I could say AB equals 5. But since we're not talking about like the actual length, we have to use a different symbol. Okay. Now we can also talk about how BC and EF are congruent. We can talk about how AC and DF are congruent. Okay. We also can talk about the corresponding angles being the same. So first of all, if I'm going to talk about angle B right here, then I'm going to write angle B. That's not an L, that's an angle symbol. Do you understand? And what angle is angle B congruent to? Angle E. Okay. So what we need to be able to do is we need to be able to look at a picture and decide which parts correspond to another. Sides, angles, and then later on we'll have to make the decision, are they congruent or not? Okay. So let's go to this picture right here of our triangles. Okay. So I'm going to try to color code things to help us out. So first I want to talk about this side AB. That didn't work out very well. So side AB. So I'm going to write AB right here. What side corresponds to AB in the other triangle? Okay. And do you notice since A and D are in the same spot, A and D are in the same spot in our little sentence also. Okay. All right. What's the next side you want to talk about? AC? Okay. What would we say AC is congruent to? Okay, thank you for saying DF. Okay, we need to go in the same order as what they're listed in. Okay, so A and D are in the same spot. What do you want to call this side in orange? Okay, if we call it CB, what do we need to call this segment? FE. Now, it is not wrong. If you want to call this BC, then you could say it's congruent to EF. Both of those mean the same thing, they're just in flipped order, but you can't interchange them. Okay, they have to be in the same order. Why? Was it hard?
Yeah. It's just like.
It's a little tedious, and I get that. Yeah.
Why are you putting a line over
So that's just signifying that it's a segment, like it starts at A, ends at B. Starts at A, ends at C. Okay. I do want you to put the little line. Okay. Now let's talk about our angles. Which angle does A correspond with?
D?
A corresponds with D. What about angle B? Angle B corresponds with angle E. And then angle C corresponds. Okay. The reason we have to do this is so that when we start putting shapes in our coordinate plane, we understand if we have congruent figures with our transformation or not. Words you don't really know yet, just trust me, okay? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write segment GH, segment HI, segment IJ, and segment GJ. And what I want you to do, I wrote all of the segments from this first shape, all highlighted in purple. And what I want you to do is I want you to write the congruent sides that correspond with the purple to this second one right here. Ready, set, go. Yes, my dear.
Oh, I did it the other way.
What do you mean? You did it the other way.
That.
Oh, yeah. All right, Matthew. GH is congruent to what side? What? He whispered KL. Don't be afraid to say it out. Landon S. HI. Okay. Carly, IJ. And if I name it GJ, then Elaine, what do I put here? GJ. So here's GJ. What is that noise? Okay, so write down with me, angle G. What does angle G correspond with?
Okay.
Angle K. Write down angle H. What does angle H correspond with? Angle I. And then angle J. You know, okay. So since G and K are in the same spot, then their angles correspond and are congruent. Since H and L are in the same spot, then their angles correspond and are congruent. Okay. Okay. How many sides do these two figures have?
4.
4. So you are going to write me 4 corresponding side statements and 4 corresponding angle statements. Ready, set, go. All right, so our corresponding sides, Landon B, give me one set that you wrote down.
JK.
And? What's in the same spot as JK? AB? Okay. All right. Red, give me another set. Give me another set of congruent sides.
BC.
And?
KL.
Okay. B, C, and K, L. All right. Ellie, another set? C, D, and L, M. And so then your last one, if you called it AD, then that would be congruent to JM. Did anybody call it DA? If you called it DA, then you should have MJ written down. Okay, thanks Matthew for the thumbs up. All right, and then our angles. Angle A should correspond with angle J. Angle B congruent to angle K. Angle C congruent to angle L. And angle D congruent to angle M. Sound good? Okay. All right, let's go to the next page. Okay. So if I tell you that two figures are congruent, then we know they're the same size, the same shape. And more specifically, we know that our corresponding sides and our corresponding angles are going to be congruent. So if they're the same size, same shape, we know that corresponding sides have to be the same length and the corresponding angles have to be the same measure. So we're talking about congruent. Coming in clutch there for me.
Yep.
Matthew, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hey, good game yesterday, Wyatt. Hey, look, it's your work for tomorrow.
Wait, what? Is it like a...
It's a graph.
It's like a graph that makes a picture.
You know what's on it with
You'll find out tomorrow.
She likes lettuce.
Okay. Here we go. There's a lot of weird marks happening here. Do you see these tick marks on the sides? Have you seen those before?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know that this one tick mark and this one tick mark means those two are the same length. And these two, okay. And then the same thing with our swoops. One swoop, so those angles are the same. Okay, cool. So if I give you a picture and I say, hey, are these figures congruent? We have to make sure that corresponding sides and corresponding angles are congruent. So in this picture right here, do you have something to say about this picture?
Well, I was gonna ask. So like, if they are like the same height, same amount, like.
Yeah?
So if it was like, instead of being 4 and 2, if it was 5 and 3, but it was like shaped like that, would that still count or no?
That's a great question. So let's talk about what do those boxes mean? What do those boxes mean?
Same.
These are 90-degree angles. So we know that these are both rectangles, right? We know the angles are congruent, but are the sides congruent? Are the sides the same length? Okay. Is 2 the same as 3? Is 4 the same as 5? Okay, so this answer is no, okay, because our sides are not congruent. Okay, our angles match up, but our sides don't. Okay. So what do you think about this picture?
Yes.
Okay, so why would this be yes?
Sides are congruent.
Okay, we have our corresponding sides are congruent and our corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, so I want you to answer the next two, the ones that aren't colored in, the clear pictures, I guess. Do you need glasses, Carlos? Maybe. Do you have glasses? Okay. You can talk to your neighbor about it too if you want. All right, yes or no to this first one?
Yes.
Would it be?
Well, yeah, because they're like both of them are congruent.
Okay, we have corresponding sides that are congruent, right? And we have corresponding angles that are congruent. Okay, awesome. Corresponding. Okay. I put CORR for corresponding because I don't want to spell the whole word. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. How about here?
No.
What's the problem, Kaylee?
The sides are not congruent.
Corresponding sides are not congruent. Okay. Beautiful. Now, we need to be able to apply this information to help us fill in the blanks, okay? What do I mean by that? So I want you to go to this picture, and first of all, this did not get printed. That's a B and that's a K. Let me get you your new packet here. For some reason, those just didn't print. Okay? So I am telling you, this is our new packet. I'm telling you that these two shapes are congruent. Well, if these two shapes are congruent, then we know corresponding sides and corresponding angles are congruent. If that is true, and I want it's asking me to find NP. So here's NP. And that's not very visible. I'm going to highlight it in pink. NP, there it is. What's NP? Landon S., I hear you saying 3. Why are you saying 3? NP and EF are corresponding parts. So if EF is 3, then so is NP. How do you feel about that?
Good.
You okay with that? Okay.
I'm doing it from the chest.
This one is saying side length AB is congruent to side length CD. So these two are congruent. Well, I don't know CD, so how the heck am I going to know AB? Kaylee?
Because you gotta look at LM, which is 6 feet.
So LM is 6 feet, which means CD is 6 feet, which means AB is 6 feet. Interesting. Okay. Now the last question is asking me for perimeter. How the heck do I find perimeter? Somebody besides Kaylee. Kaylee, I love your energy, but I need to hear somebody else's voice. That is actually area. Okay. What'd you say? Add all of the sides together. Okay. Well, if we're going to add all of the sides together, I don't have all of the sides. I don't have side GF. But do we know what side GF is? We know that it's 2 because of QP right here. Okay. And what about BC? Also 2 because of KL over here. All right. So if we are going to figure out the perimeter, I'm going to take 6 plus 2 plus 6 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2. I got to get all those sides added together. $26? 26 feet? Okay. Okay. So this is your job for me. On page 3, you have homework. Number 1 and 2 are like what we did on the first page, saying AB is congruent to JK and BC is congruent to blah, 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 blah. But what I want you to notice about number 2, what do you notice about the 2 pictures in number 2? They're the same shape, but
Different.
they're oriented different. So they're like kind of like a mirror of each other. So just make sure when you're picking out the corresponding parts, you understand that those 2 shapes are a mirror to each other. Okay? So page 3, let's get going.